properly supported throughout this entire process?
It's often assumed that the decision to terminate is black and white. You do or you don't, depending on what you want. But there are those of us who wish to avail of a termination of pregnancy, but who do not travel. Many families and pregnant women in Ireland continue a pregnancy, not because it's the right thing for them to do, but because the ordeal involved in ending a pregnancy under the current regime is just too arduous. We might not be able to afford it. The flights, up to 3 round trips, as Jerry said, the accommodation, the cost of the procedure itself, the post-mortem, the cremation and transport home of our baby's remains costs each couple as much as €4,000. That's an enormous sum of money for most families. I know it's a massive sum for mine, and in most cases it's prohibitive. We might not be able to travel. We might simply just not be able to face the stress of travelling and returning home without a bump or a baby. The emotional toll of travelling, it really can't be underestimated. Grief has many more facets to it than just simply being sad. Anxiety, exhaustion, panic attacks, deep mistrust, these are all symptoms of complicated grief, and it makes travelling through foreign airports and foreign cities and to strange hospitals and in taxis and buses just impossible and much more traumatic than it might seem to an outsider. In my experience, that was the greatest barrier for me, along with the unbearable thought of leaving my 2 kids here in Ireland and then leaving their dead sister in England. And the stigma associated with travel is enormous. Many of us fear that there'll be gossip, judgment. Your family, friends, your community might exclude you, talk about you. And it's more than we can cope with, along with the grief. These are just some of the limitless reasons why travelling to end a pregnancy is just not an option for everyone. Even when we know that a termination is the right thing for us, for our baby, for our families. So then what happens to us? We can't travel, and we're not going to have a baby, and we're trapped. We're in this nightmare situation of looking like we're expecting a baby, but we're not. We're preparing for this massive loss. And then being asked questions and people expecting you to be happy about your growing bump. It's just too much. It's just more than you can cope with. And so to avoid this, what we do is we isolate ourselves, we hide, we go inside, we lock the door, and we don't go out again. And we suffer the anxiety, the nightmares, the constant, ever-present knowledge that we're losing our baby alone. And while we wait, we can't participate in our normal lives. We can't go to work. We struggle to look after our other children. All of our relationships suffer massively. But according to the 8th Amendment, none of this matters, because as long as we're alive, that's enough. I don't think it's enough. It wasn't enough for me. Pregnancy can affect our physical and our mental health, even in previously healthy pregnancies where there's no fetal complications. But when something goes wrong, whether it's a miscarriage, if your waters break, fetal anomaly, all those risks to your physical and your mental health are increased. And why is it that when we're pregnant, only our lives matter? Why is it okay to completely ignore our physical well-being, our mental well-being? Does that really not matter when we're pregnant? Is that just set aside? Is it okay to just be alive? Whatever else we do with our laws, we need to ensure that the normal duty of care to us as living, as breathing, functional members of society, as women, as people, is never set aside. When you're considering proposed changes to our laws, we think it's really important that you also consider how women in Ireland will be protected and ensured that provision of information, of safety, of privacy and of real access to services is there. If abortion is legalised, it should be incorporated into current maternity care. Don't leave us out. Don't continue to stigmatise and isolate us. It's important that lawful services are available to all pregnant women in Ireland. It doesn't matter where you live or how much you earn or how much money you have. That means every maternity hospital, whatever about its ethos, must be in a position to provide these services at all times. Healthcare should not be a black market product. and no woman should ever be afraid to seek medical assistance because she's afraid she's going to be arrested. We respect and we totally understand that some medical practitioners may object to carrying out abortions of any type, and that's because of their own sincere beliefs, and that's grand. But we don't accept and we don't believe that this should ever be allowed to prevent a person from accessing the medical care that they need. The responsibility must be on every medical facility, regardless of ownership or ethos, to ensure that they can and that they will provide procedures that are legal in this country. Conscientious objection should not be used in a manipulative manner to avoid taking care of some patients. We also need to ensure that protests, harassment of patients, barring access to medical facilities are not tolerated in Ireland. We've seen what they've done in other countries. It can't be tolerated here under any circumstances. Legally enforceable safe zones around medical facilities should be part of any legislation, and they're crucial to provide for the privacy and the safety, not just of the patients, but of the staff and their visitors. We really hope that we've been able to open a window into the unnecessary suffering that the 8th Amendment has inflicted on us and continues to inflict on other women. At a time when we're at our most vulnerable, at a time when the diagnosis we've received should be the worst thing that's ever happened to you. We've gone into a lot more detail in our main submission, and we really recommend that you take the time and read the personal stories that have been made available to you. None of us should have to reveal all these intimate details, not to change. And we're really grateful for those who have submitted their stories to us, who have submitted them to you and have trusted us to do so. We hope we've been able to shine a light on how unworkable any gestational limit would be when addressing issues of fetal or maternal health. We're sure that by listening to our lived experiences and reading about how Ireland and its current laws has added to our trauma, you'll be in a better informed position to consider the mature and the compassionate recommendations made to you by the citizens. We can only speak to you from our own experience. That's what we have. But we do know that all women make these decisions based on their own private, personal and all valid needs. We support all choices for everyone. You have an opportunity to make a recommendation to government that recognises that we all make decisions around pregnancy, around parenting, in a mature and a responsible way. We trust that, having heard the expert evidence and the lived experiences presented here, your recommendations will support us all in our decisions and look after us all when we need it. Thank you.